Ghost of Tsushima was a slice of heaven, a soulful and incredibly stylish looking swan song for the PlayStation 4. Though it only took me 17 hours to clock, the bolt-on updates of a photo mode, 4-player co-op and New Game Plus option ended up ballooning my number of hours played up to read 69. That comedically fortuitous number aside, I have to say I was sad when it came time to sheathe my Tsushima disc back into its case. But hey, now that Sucker Punch is making the sun rise yet again on this, in the form of a PlayStation 5 Director's Cut, I'll happily take any excuse to quick draw this bad boy back off the shelf. As you'd expect, the usual PlayStation 5 stuff has been stitched in. Adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, and 3D audio support. The devs are also bumping the frame rate up to 60 frames per second, which technically has already been achieved by hackers with jailbroken PlayStation 4 Pro consoles. But that's another story. Truly, the biggest lure for return tourism to Tsushima is the lovely day trip to a whole new play space and storyline. The plight of Iki Island has our titular ghost Jin Sakai haunting an all-new antagonist. Calling herself the Eagle, this warlord is dishing out her own unique, brutal Mongolian slam on the local populace. When her victims ask our favourite samurai ninja hybrid if he can help, Jin coolly responds, "Sure I can." I'm going to chop Director's Cut into finer chunks for you, right after this 2-minute piece of non-commentary footage.
堺砦のことか。
ああ、今やもうこのすさ、あいつら捕虜を狂わせてる。叫び声で眠れやしなかった。
もう安全だ。どこかへ逃げろ。
死ぬかと思った。
堺砦、あの時のままだ。だがもうこの手に落ちたか。
So let's talk Iki. In terms of landmass, it's slightly smaller than the first island you explore in the Tsushima group. It's also a touch more tropical than the sandbox that you know. All that being said, you can expect this place to continue the Sucker Punch virtues of chromatic vibrance and gore, just violence. Basically, the base game looked a treat on PlayStation 4 already. Now, it just looks razor sharp and amazing in the 60 frames per second mode. It's the sort of title that will have non-gamers in your house wandering past and going, "Ooh, that's pretty." Excited tourists beware though. Before you do rush down to the boat ramp with your Iki ticket and some luggage, you're going to need to hit Act 2 in the main game. Personally, I just used my 100% save file and opened up my journal, rode to a point on the map, and then I was whisked overseas. Upon arrival, it's just business as usual. Allow me to summarize. You'll either freely explore, engage in a wealth of side diversions, or stick doggedly to a main thread that has Jin fighting a new Mongol franchisee who favours mind-altering drugs as a means of subjugation. Her product, the stickiest of ickies, can send people insane. As if hallucinogenic flashbacks to your childhood trauma isn't bad enough, Jin also has to effectively go undercover and form a jagged alliance with some locals who'd gladly disembowel any Sakai on sight. And you know what? I'm not going to detail much more of the plot than that. Mostly because my focused run through on lethal difficulty only took me 3 hours. I'm of two minds about that. On the one hand, what's here provides a fascinating look into what makes Jin tick and is sharply written. On the other hand, people paying $30 Australian to upgrade may be miffed when the main quest isn't katana length when fully unsheathed. It's a bit more Tanto-sized. Mind you, to 100% complete Iki Island will require a great many more hours. For starters, when I finished, there was still a handful of minor and optional story missions to do. It's also worth mentioning that a few of the old Tsushima activities can be found on this island as well. For example, there are an additional 20 plus pieces of vanity gear to earn, 2 more hot springs to find, 3 pillars of honor, 2 lighthouses, 3 haikus, 4 bamboo strikes, and another Shinto shrine to desecrate if you're wearing that half-naked cosmetic skin. Even better, there are completely new things to collect and attempt. Kleptomaniacs will delight over the search for 30 Sakai banners, 25 records of Iki, 3 helping hand tasks, and a bunch of deer sanctuaries. The above tasks don't provide very many surprises. If you're after that, you should beeline to the 8 archery challenges and 4 bokken tournaments if you're after bona fide new challenges. I'll detail all of those in a sec.
If you can handle yourself in a fight, come here.
Are you challenging me?
That depends. Are you for or against these Mongols?
Against.
Then that's all I need to know. We set up archery targets around Iki to train for another samurai invasion. Instead, we got Mongols. If you're looking for practice, shoot an arrow through each lantern as fast as you can.
I've shot warriors while riding on horseback. I think I can hit a few lanterns.
Hitting them is one thing. Speed is another. Keep going. When you're ready, grab an arrow. Told you he was good.
Tenzo has a lot to make right.
Give up yet.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot to say when it comes to talking about new wrinkles in the old core gameplay loop. The 2 biggest mechanical changes are these new recurring enemy types called Shaman. There's also a focus draining horse charge function on L1 that can be upgraded a few times. It's mildly amusing to play bowling for idiots with it, but I wouldn't call it a game changer that suddenly makes horse combat viable and fun. I'd still rather just leap off the horse and get to it on foot. You're probably going to feel the same. Shamans, along with the odd Mongol who will constantly switcheroo their weaponry to force you to adapt in kind, are novel at best. While I certainly think Sucker Punch could have been more creative, I do also have to admit that these kind of uninspired archetypes provide a new tactical wrinkle. Even my maxed out Jin had to be quick on his sandals. Moving on, the archery challenges and bokken tournaments are new bits of content that are well worth investigating. The former asks you to get your Robin Hood on in a series of time-based accuracy tests. You'll need some serious hand-eye coordination and a good grasp of the bullet time mechanic to succeed. Bokken tournaments are the non-lethal Iki equivalent of Tsushima's duels. You'll need to square off against a few opponents who have very distinct fighting styles and tactics. Every solid hit earns you a point and triggers a short break, with 5 points getting you the win. Honestly, this is way less a Soul Calibur style mashathon and more of a puzzle game. You'll need to trial and error your way through Jin's extensive moveset to find the few surefire counters to the shifting attack patterns coming your way. Doggedly stick to your main game combos and you're gonna get your block bocked off.
Begin! Disengage. Point for Bokto. Resume. Break. Step back. Point for Bokto. Continue. Hold back. Point for Bokto. Proceed. Disengage. Point for Take. Resume. Break. Step back. Point for Take. Continue. Disengage. Point for Bokto. Resume.
When it comes to pros and cons, there are still a few legacy issues that I wanted addressed, but Sucker Punch just wasn't into it. The Mongol AI still has a ways to go when it comes to convincingly hunting down a ninja-leaning Jin. Also, there are still little immersion-breaking moments where Jin doesn't target how he should or doesn't quite have the animation set to track and hit an enemy who's on a slightly different plane to him. Not a huge issue, but it still crops up, and I was kind of hoping it didn't. And hey, to their credit, Sucker Punch did at least try to fix those moments by adding in a lock-on function. Putting it on D-pad up by default was kind of weird, and I definitely tried using it for a while, but I just sort of wound up going back to the free-flowing default system, because after 69 hours, that's just what my brain expects from this game now. Minor imperfections and all. Bottom line, I think the Iki Island chunk of Director's Cut is worth the 30 odd Ryo. Yeah, the main quest may be bite-sized, but it's also well designed, fun, and it's at least as emotionally engaging as an act in the main game, which I really liked. Basically, I'm very glad that I hitched a ferry and went on this trip. Mind you, that could be 7 straight weeks of lockdown talking. I'm happy to go anywhere right about now, even if it's make-believe. Likewise, I think there are just enough new wrinkles here in terms of combat, kleptomania, and minigames. Taken as a whole, I can see all of that stuff nudging the runtime of this new content into double digits. And more importantly, the act of just discovering those diversions out in the sandbox, having a legitimate reason to once more explore this achingly beautiful Kurosawa wet dream, is pleasure enough. Director's Cut isn't as revolutionary as its invasion-thwarting subject matter, but it is still a damn nice slice of samurai escapism. If nothing else, Director's Cut represents Sucker Punch securing a solid new-gen beachhead to hopefully launch a multi-sequel assault. I enjoyed my time with this, and I can't wait to see what comes next.